like to call to order the December 12th meeting of the Arizona State Parks Board. And with that in mind, I would ask Board Member Sarah King, who is one of our travelers today, who came all the way from home to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So Sarah?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. With that in mind, Pam, if you would do member roll call.
Yes. Dale Larson,
I'm here.
John Sefton,
Present.
Jeff Buchanan,
Here.
Sarah King, here, Terry Palmberg. Terry Palmberg,
Okay.
she's on there.
Terry on mute. She's on the internet somewhere on that highway.
Terry, can you hear us? You may need to unmute your phone.
Well, we will continue working with Terry, but we do have a quorum, even though the affirmation with Terry is not there. So thank you very much. As is customary, I'd like to just read the mission statement for our State Parks Board. As board members, we are gathered today to be the stewards and voice of the Arizona State Parks and its mission statement to manage and conserve Arizona's natural, cultural, and recreation resources for the benefit of the people, both in our parks and through our partners. With that in mind, I'd like to go over the approval of the minutes, and just for the record, Pam was advising me, there was a minor typo in the October minutes from the September meeting, and so Pam corrected that, so we're going to reapprove both the October and the November minutes just for the record. She's got eagle eyes and saw that, so I want to definitely make that. So is there any discussion on the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Board Member Sarah King. Is there a second?
John Sefton, second.
Vice Chair John Sefton and Board Member Jeff Buchanan have shared their second for the board. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, by voice acclamation, all those that approve signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Terry, have you rejoined yet? All right, keep on going. Let's move on to the consideration of the consent agenda, items 2A through 2H. And first, I would like to welcome on the telephone all those of you who are telephonically joining this meeting because they are consent items. It's been the board's practice that after staff venting of all the grant requests, AORC, which we are going to be recognizing today, has done the yeoman's job in looking at the grants, and we individually as board members have also looked at the grants. So unless there is a board member that has a specific reason for pulling out any of the grant requests, hearing none, then I would ask, and again, thank you to all those who have joined us telephonically, ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items 2A through 2H.
So moved.
Board Member Buchanan with a move. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Terry
Board.
Palmer.
Oh.
We can let Terry have it. She's back.
Glad you're back, Terry. Thank you very much for the second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think it's certainly an important point to recognize that Clarkdale will also have pickleball courts. So through this grant process, it's a blessing for them all there. So they'll be subject to the fun, enthusiasm, and excitement of pickleball.
You said a blessing.
Sure.
Not a curse.
For some.
For some. Thank you, John. All right, with that, let's have a roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Dale Larson,
Aye.
John Sefton.
Aye.
Jeff Buchanan,
Aye.
Sarah King,
Aye.
Terry Palmberg.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously, and I'd like to recognize our Executive Director, Bob Broshard.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quick, just to highlight, I know you've all read the grants, just in particular the OHV grants, the three from the counties. This is, an effort we've been doing over the last, couple of years, but really for staff was really a culmination of a lot of work and working directly with the counties. This is really good to see. And Deputy Palazzolo is here from Navajo County. I think this is one of the first from Navajo County. I may be wrong on that, but it's good to see that the amounts and what it's going for. The Yavapai County is the largest single grant we've issued to a county for law enforcement equipment and enforcement ever. So working with them about their grants and working where the funds are going, you're looking at $1 million in just 3 counties. We're going to continue that effort. There's a lot of need out there, a lot of need for enforcement and education and things. And so we're going to continue to work with the county. So we'll probably see a bunch more in the future. But we're really proud to see that. Mickey and his team have done a great job in working with them and giving really flexibility, I think. Counties are subject to budgets, as we all know. And we're glad that this could come in and help and hopefully save lives and make sure our officers can do a great job out there. So we look forward to more from those guys. So I just really wanted to highlight that. I'm sure more are coming, more counties. The more the word gets out, the more grant inquiries we'll get. We can't make them put in, but we certainly try to work with them the best that we can. So.
Well, I know Board Member Buchanan particularly joins you with that effort on it. And Jeff, just so that you know, we are very well represented by Navajo County here in the meeting. Vince drove down from there today to be a part of that in person. So, Jeff, any thoughts on your mind that you'd like to share as well?
Well, thanks, Chairman. Just, I'm thankful that we had those different county sheriff supply trails. And I know we've provided help to municipal police departments as well. I can reinforce in my work through Santa Cruz County Sheriff that they're thrilled with their OHVs and put them to good use. So keep it up. We know we get regularly, we get feedback that there's just not enough enforcement out there. I know there's the long pole and the lieutenant's probably trained officers, but equipment always helps.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you again for making the trip down there. Really appreciate it. Plus, you're adding security here to this.
That's extra pay.
All right, let's go on to item agenda D3, consideration of action. We want to consider and may take action to appoint applicants to the Off-Highway Vehicle Advisory Group. And Matt, you are here on board to introduce us to these new members.
Up together here. I apologize. We had a huge expo at Westworld of Scottsdale, and with the new legislative changes regarding the education course for game and fish that takes effect January 1st, as well as the Tonto National Forest implementing off-highway vehicle permitting fees to help them generate law enforcement education outreach. My voice is a little hoarse. I'm not sick. I've been telling my team all week. I walked in, I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? They're all like, whoa. So it's just from speaking to a lot of people all week. So bear with me. I got my water, I got my notes.
Think of it as an FM radio voice.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Good morning.
I feel like it's 10 p.m. at night all of a sudden.
At any rate, I digress. So today we have 3 off-highway vehicle advisory group members. 1 is a renewal for a 2nd term. 2 are going to be first-time applicants. Pat Eddington is currently serving the Wildlife Federation, so we have to have 1 wildlife agency representative of the 7. It's a 7-member organization that basically provides you guidance specifically on off-highway vehicle recreation use throughout the state. So they are subject matter experts, and their makeup consists of 1 wildlife representative, I think it's 5 just general users or associations with the club, and then typically we will try and have 1 industry representative. So in this case, we have Patrick Eddington with the Arizona Wildlife Federation out of Yuma wanting to renew, and then Don Kramer with the White Mountain Open Trail Association. looking to apply out of Apache County, and then J.C. Sanders with the Palace Ghost Riders. He also serves with Holly Irwin, who was currently on OFAC, who just stepped down after serving 2 terms with us. They're both associated with the Arizona Peace Trail, which represents 13 different clubs. So he's a double dipper. He's been huge in off-highway vehicle recreation, as well as Don with the White Mountain Open Trail Association. They're very good candidates. I've had, an ongoing working relationship with obviously Patrick in his first 3-year term, as well as JC. I think as long as I've been in the OHV world, since even back at the Game of Fish days, JC has been heavily involved. So I'm still working on developing that relationship with Don, but it sounds like his head's in the right place with the White Mountain Open Trail Association. He's very eager to get involved and participate in providing you guys guidance on off-highway vehicle recreation grants and kind of next steps and programs and how we can grow as an agency in the off-highway vehicle world, and kind of give me guidance as the OHV coordinator on what they want to see, what you want to see, and how we can kind of bridge that gap between the board, the statewide OHV legislative committee, which JC also sits on with Director Broscheid. So these are fantastic candidates. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if they're on the phone, but again, we can certainly relay any questions to them. But it's pretty straightforward. Looking for 1 renewal and 2 new members. Their terms would start January 1.
Right, thank you, Matt. Patrick, Don, or JC, are you on the line by any chance? All right, that's so. Questions from board members regarding the appointment for these? This is, these people are appointed, the board affirms that, and they are recognized through the state for this relationship. It sounds like Patrick particularly has been extremely dedicated in this regard. Any thoughts or comments from board members? If not,
Mr. Chair,
Oh,
Jeff.
go ahead, Jeff.
And just a quick comment on Pat Headington. I've worked with him through Game and Fish Department, and he's dedicated and well informed, and will represent the state law.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate that. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
All right, you want to go ahead?
Want me to read the whole
Yeah,
thing?
read the whole
I
thing. I'm
move
sorry.
that the Arizona State Parks Board approve Patrick Headington, Don Kramer, and J.C. Sanders as new members and a repeat member to the Off-Highway Vehicle Advisory Group.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
John Sefton will
Second.
second.
All right. Motion seconded by John. Any discussion? I think we can do this through acclamation, and it doesn't involve money, so I think we're okay by going that route. So, no further discussion. All those in favor of the appointment of these 3 people signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I have the floor for 1 second.
Yes.
I just wanted to notify you as a board that there are other, you said sheriff's offices. We're actively working with Pinal County on another application and continuing to have those conversations through the Train the Trainer program the Arizona Game and Fish Department offers to all law enforcement agencies across the state. So like Director Broscheid said, we're continuing those conversations, and you should see hopefully new grants from other sheriff's offices and law enforcement entities come, I think, February, because they'll go to OFAC in January. So.
Is the contingent group for this advisory group, is it full now, or do you still have vacancies?
Yeah, that'll keep us full. Yeah, there's been no vacancies, there's been no lapses. So we've had 7 members. This will continue our 7 members.
Well, congratulations, we're jealous.
They wanted to hang out with me for another 3 years, so I'll take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, appreciate it, take care of your voice. All right, this is getting into the really fun part of today's meeting for a lot of variety of reasons. I'd like to call upon Mickey Rogers, Chief of Grants and Trails, to talk about the recognition and accomplishment of some of our past AORC Commission members. Mickey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So we wanted to recognize 3 members of AORC that have served well beyond their 2-term limits. First was John Sefton. He first started at Peoria as part of the AORC and came to Chandler. He worked 7 years, with several of these being a member of the board. His knowledge of the process and vetting of the grants reviewed by AORC could advise the board on issues on any of the grants that were submitted. Ken Taylor, Pinal County Open Space, Commission. 8 years that he served on AIR. Prior to that, he served on ASCOT. He was always quick with the laugh, served on multiple advisory groups and collaborative efforts that addressed outdoor recreation. He retired in 2023 and is back contracting, assisting the county with grants that they have while they have staff vacancy. Tiffany Broberg, a public member, she served for 11 years, 9 years as chair. She has a full-time job as a lawyer. When she started, she had a young family. I'm sure they're getting older now. So there were 42 AORC meetings that we've had since Tiffany started, and she attended every one of the meetings. The only one she missed, she was on a flight, and we had to cancel that meeting because we didn't have I'm going to go over some of the accomplishments of the grants that were reviewed by AORC since that time, and put some to put things in perspective. In 2014, all of our grants, we required 16 paper copies of all the grants. Some were over 100 pages long. We mailed to the committee members. They had reviewed them before the AORC meeting. We had 3 grant programs: off-highway vehicle, recreational trails program, and land and water conservation fund. And we had $4,207,996 available in that year. 2023, all grants submitted now in an online system. We had 14 separate grant programs, including SLIF, Heritage, and the American Rescue Plan Act, with a total of $1,443,417 available. And just to talk about, you talking about vetting of the grants, just today alone, a little under $4 million was awarded in grants, which is fantastic work that was done. So it's almost as much as we had total in 2014.
Wow.
So the Heritage Fund was appropriated in 22, 23, and 24 after many years of not being funded. There were 4 funding opportunities with these funds. The first one, Heritage Non-Motorized, there were 16 grants awarded. Funding was used to construct 20 miles of new trail, maintain 7 miles of existing trails, improve 2 trailheads, construct 14 rollover gates in the White Mountains for easier access for mountain bikers who ride the shared use trails of this system. The next grant, Heritage Historic Preservation, 20 grants were awarded. It's much needed funding for these historic properties as there is little other funding available. This was one program where we had many more projects than funding available and could have funded twice as many projects if the funds were there. Funding was awarded to renovate 18 historic buildings. The photo on the left is the completed renovation of the Teatro Carmen Theater in Tucson, one of the first projects that was completed with this funds. Funding was also awarded to 2 historic properties, including a portion of the Tucson Mountain Park that was constructed during the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s. Most of these projects required specialized contractors, and many are still underway. The Heritage Local, Regional, State Park Grant Program, there were 21 projects that were submitted. This was the funding source that was most in demand. It is for outdoor recreation and can provide the 50% matching funds required of the Land and Water Conservation Fund program, which for many communities, especially the rural communities, were not possible without these funds. Of the 21 projects awarded, 13 went to rural communities that had underserved populations, and 15 projects used these funds to match LUCF. The 3 photos here show the diversity of the project, but also are representative of different areas of the state, including the pool in Winslow that was just completed, pickleball courts, as John says,
Blessing.
in Sholo. They built 8 new pickleball courts and a splash pad in Bullhead City. The pickleball courts and the splash pad are the most in demand for our funding right now. The State Lake Improvement Fund, there were 22 grants were awarded. That is another program that hasn't been funded since 2009. Of the 22 projects awarded, these awards were for 18 new boats to replace some that were over 15 years old, providing a reliable method to quickly respond to emergency for the enforcement agencies. These boats can cost anywhere between $200,000 and $400,000, which is, for most of them, isn't feasible in the budget. The program also purchased 6 jet skis. 4 boat launches had major reservations. A new cleaning fish station was purchased. 2 docks rebuilt. 2 remote underwater vehicles were purchased to assist in rescue and recovery operations prior to using divers, which is much safer, and also a new wind warning system was put in at Lake Pleasant. The American Rescue Plan Act, 25 grants were awarded. This was to assist in recovery from COVID pandemic. The ARPA funding was available nationwide to all states, and a portion of this funding for Arizona was made available for these grants. One of the requirements was this funding be available to underserved communities, which are defined by income levels within a census tract in Arizona. The funding was used for outdoor recreation, non-motorized trail, historic buildings, and heating and ventilation. The photos on this slide include park upgrades in an unserved community in Tucson, an HVAC system for a historic building in Cholo, and a new connector trail in the city of Kingman. The Heritage Environment Education Program, 27 grants were awarded. The funding was available for environmental education as it relates to outdoor recreation. During COVID, it was never more apparent how important it was for people to get outdoors and be able to recreate, especially for students who had to stay at home during this time. The funding was awarded to several after-school programs, weekend programs for youth, and funding was used to hire program leaders to coordinate these efforts. Projects included making bikes available to youth that could not afford them, provide funding for our own family campout program, provide a means of students to monitor the riparian area in the Verde River, and several more similar programs statewide from Colorado City to Bisbee. The program had a huge impact on thousands of youth, teaching them about trail etiquette, working as a team, leave no trace while giving back to the community. The Land and Water Conservation Fund, there were 66 projects that were awarded. This program has gone through the most change. The federal funding in 2015 for Arizona was $887,996, with a total maximum award request of $100,000. The Great American Outdoor Act, passed in 2020, provided permanent funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund program, and if in FY24, a total of $6,720,000 was appropriated for Arizona. This was the largest amount ever appropriated since its inception in 1965. The largest award to date went to Buckeye for major expansion of an existing park and was visited by the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Interior, celebrating the success of the program while announcing the 2024 appropriation nationwide at this meeting. The slide also shows our first all-inclusive playground and splash pad that was built in Sholo. Also awarded was our first tribal project to develop new park on the Tohono O'odham San Xavier district, which was matched with LRSP money and county money, and without those funds, the park would never be built. There are also 2 new parks that were constructed with members, Sefton being a part of the Homestead North Park in Chandler, where we found out a playground can cost up to $750,000. And Ken Taylor.
That was cheap then.
And Ken Taylor, after 10 years of persistence, was able to be awarded a grant for Peralta Regional Park near the base of the Superstitions. We would highly recommend anyone who's never been to that park to stop by. The park was designed with minimal impact, and all campsites and picnic areas were constructed to provide amazing views. The off-highway vehicle program, 148 projects were awarded. With over 40,000 miles of designated trails, the demand for this funding has been consistent. The funding requests have shifted in the past few years due to the availability of ARPA funding to the federal agencies to use on their trails where the majority of off-highway vehicle use occurs. So some of the projects that were approved The master plan for the Arizona Peace Trail was funded with OHV dollars, and once completed, they requested funding to implement the trail, the 800-mile loop trail in Mojave, Yuma, and La Paz County, which has been a draw to these small communities, provide a huge economic benefit. It has spurred new businesses, and several OHV trails have been awarded with this funding. Funding is also used for the maintenance of existing motorized trails, with very little being used for new trails. With the increased OHV use, the shift in funding requests now has gone from law enforcement agents for both education and enforcement on these trails. The Recreational Trails Program is the only program other than Heritage, when appropriated, that provides money for non-motorized trail. The funding has been constant since 2009, with Arizona receiving $1.82 million annually. 202 of the grants were awarded, which is the most of any of the programs we have. Examples of projects that include new accessible trails at Horseshoe Bend that is used by 1 million people a year. A new trail was recently completed in Page and is available for mountain bikers and hikers. And many of the non-motorized projects are being built or maintained by AmeriCorps crews, providing members an experience in the outdoors and an educational award once the service has completed. It was also how I began my career in state parks as a AmeriCorps member.
You were. Congratulations, Mickey. That's fabulous.
So this is the map that the projects have been funded. The location of the projects in the area. It certainly shows the spread of the funding all throughout the state. It's not all in one area. It's certainly representative of the state. Finally, total grants awarded since October 14, 2014, 547. The award was $104,958,394. The match, $166,162. But total cost of $160,124.56. The total impact from these construction projects alone was that amount. If you add in the millions of users that have been using these facilities and upgraded facilities, students taking advantage of these new programs, spending their money in the communities, purchasing gear and equipment for those facilities, and motorized machines to ride through Arizona, the impact would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars of these grants that were awarded. So we want to thank all three of these members. They were a key part of their success. They always reviewed these. They asked detailed questions. They vetted these very well. So we want to thank them for everything.
Thank you, Mickey. That's impressive. I mean, that is just incredible and incredulous. I mean, it's just amazing. Let me first, before we recognize our three retiring AORC members that are here in the audience today, board members due outside of Vice Chair John Sefton, board members Sarah or Jeff or Terry, do you have any comments? And then I'll also ask Bob to make some comments as well before I enter in. So any thoughts?
Only well done.
Okay,
Congratulations and thanks for everything.
okay,
Yeah, thanks to all of you for what you've done.
all right. Bob?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, being on AWORK myself, you know, you think about the volunteering, all of you volunteering your time. But if you think about during COVID, that was challenging. But I think with Tiffany being the chair, she's a great chair and she runs a great meeting. She's my kind of chair, and the people that know me know what that means. But you know, pivoting and adjusting, and staff then coming forward with process improvements. I mean, going completely virtual and setting and managing that had its own challenges. But the other was that the AORC met when needed, not on a scheduled time because the grants were coming in, and that was a huge shift for how we were doing grants to how we were responding. So the minute, I think we got it down to a month By the time it went through subcommittee to AORC, then to the board, and they nailed that. And Tiffany, you ran a great meeting. Kent is always there to chime in. Not on his projects, he always abstained, as did Member Sefton, but always there for good questions. You knew when the AORC approved it, it was solid. And Chair, you know that when they come to the board, that they've been vetted. And we just thank you so much for dedicating so much time to this. And Mickey, a great job on that presentation of the impact that you all have. That's a high bar for the next ones to live up to, as long as the funding keeps coming. But just thank you. It was a pleasure working with you on the board and the commission as well. So thank you so much.
Before I call upon each one of you, just to make some brief comments, Mickey, to you and your staff, thank you so much, because the whole paperwork, the whole battle of that application, and going out to all those locations that were up on your map, to be able to provide training to all of those agencies, to be able to submit that application. Incredibly complicated, diverse relationship of how do you match the formulas with LWCF and with Heritage and all those different areas. That just doesn't come out of learned behavior. Your staff has been able to provide that training to give them the impetus to do these grant applications, which of course then goes to the meetings of both of staff as well as AORC, and then eventually to our board. I was doing my own tally of those grants. I add up to 551. So you may want to check your ad. Maybe I misadded someplace, but $170 million is just remarkable. And to Bob, I would request that you request when the state legislature and the Senate Committee on Natural Resources reconvenes, I would like for this presentation to be on their agenda. I really want the state to be able to understand what this agency does with its volunteer support in terms of this kind of relationship. My guess is in the near future, this won't be equal. I mean, the monies are drying up, as we well know, both at the federal level, outside of LWCF. So this is just like record mountaintop kind of relationship. So Mickey, to you and to your staff, to all of you, thank you very, very much for all the great work that you did. So let me ask first, Vice Chair.
Real quick,
Yeah.
To kind of leverage what Bob was just saying, if you stop and think about it, Tiffany, as chair over these years, you had to manage Bob Broshard, Kent Taylor, Ty Gray, Joe Baines, and John Sefton in a number of these meetings.
And your predecessors, by the way.
That alone, and the short attention spans that all these directors have, it took an attorney to be able to do so effectively in their
We're scared of attorneys.
So accolades to you, and it's been such an honor to serve alongside with you and to be able to do the pre-work necessary and to be able to make this, the execution is what matters, and as Mickey mentioned, the impact on the people that use these things, it's stuff that goes unseen, all of this work, but the staff that prepared it, and then the execution, your volunteer time, and then I think the rest of us pretty much had day jobs in the same business, but nonetheless, thank you, Tiffany, very much.
Thank you. And Dale, to your point with Mickey, when we started this, it was a very, very different world, right? It was paper, we were going through these things together. What you did, Mickey, with your team that you built to create new scoring models, right, to make it easier for us to figure out why these projects deserve it, and also boiling down what is the core need for it and giving us all the backup information we needed to really be educated and to get through all of these. That's a lot in just 42 meetings, right? So just huge credit to you and your staff. You run a fantastic organization and you have a great team. And Bob, it's just incredible what you've been able to do here. So none of this is possible. I mean, it feels like we just show up and check the box, right? Because you have done so much work behind the scenes first, and you deserve all the credit for it.
Definitely, if I could echo just real quick on that matter. So I was on ASCOT in the early 2000s, and part of my job on ASCOT was to review grants. So I used to get a box in the mail from State Parks to review those grants. Literally a box of paper to review, or I had to come up here and pick it up, one of the two. So to go from that to, being able to, do it at your desk at lunchtime or whatever was pretty huge. And I know, from Ascot and AWORK, for me, getting to meet some great people that I would have never met was probably the best thing to come out of both those experiences. I call many of them lifetime friends and and colleagues, and that was absolutely one of the best parts.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that very much. Before we do a more formal recognition with some hardware here, I mentioned it to Tiffany just on the aside a little bit and said, be prepared for this. Mickey gave me a bio. I mean, I've known John forever, Kent, and your background very similar to mine. But Tiffany is by trade a lawyer. But when I found out that her undergraduate degree was in geology, I thought, wow, that's an interesting transition. So how and why, and just a little bit about how the natural aura of Arizona affected you.
It's funny, you're asking, I've been reflecting since you asked me that a little bit earlier. You told me you were going to ask me about it. Arizona does one thing better than anywhere I've ever been, and I do a lot of traveling, but you guys celebrate your natural resources like nobody's business, right? Rome, they've got buildings. You have the outdoors and everything that comes with it. And everything about Arizona celebrates that. So it's hard not to be here and really appreciate everything that has to offer. From any store you go into and you see the minerals and the turquoise, and every photo has a cactus in it, or red rocks, or one of our other amazing geological structures. So it's really hard not to make that something that you want to be a part of forever, right? So for me, I think part of going into geology was just like, well, I mean, how could you not? Right, when it's everywhere and it's so important and it's great, and you want to protect these things and really and make sure that you're appreciating them and understanding why things look the way they look, and how you stop them from eroding away, right, to the extent that you can. There's mass wasting you can do nothing about, but there's other things you can probably prevent. So going into the law, it was kind of an idea that I'd go into natural resources here somewhere legally. When I graduated law school in 2005, that wasn't really the market at that time, so I didn't make it happen. So it was a real pleasure and joy to be able to to volunteer with you all and get to apply some of that love for Arizona's outdoors to make our state better, keep our state great. All the things, anything that I could do to make sure that what we have now is what we're going to have in the future.
Well, thank you, and to be chair for 11 years, that in and of itself is really, I've done 5.
Offering the job.
I've done 5, and I'm thinking that's plenty. But anyway, thank you so very much. So what I'd like to do is first call upon Mickey. Mickey has some kind of interesting little things that he would like to pass out in Petrified, like John and Kent and Tiffany, and come on up here to the head of the podium. We'll get him.
That didn't sound good.
And Jeff, go ahead, Jeff.
So Chairman Larson, we did wanted to thank all of them for their service. So put a couple words on these land and water conservation very official signs. We'd like to present them.
Thank you.
Do I have to take a picture of this in my office and send it back to you?
Now make sure it's on the property. On the property.
Only somebody that's had a grant would understand that.
Make sure that they are.
Yeah.
Can I need a wood pole to put it on, right? Stick this right in my front yard.
Just turn around so that you
yeah,
can get your picture here on this.
HOA, do they?
Right. Thank you. How
And what was,
cool.
Mickey, what was the
We're not-
record
we're
for
not
the
done.
shortest AORC meeting? I think it was like 10 minutes?
No.
I can read it.
It was 12.
12 minutes?
12 minutes. It's consent agenda.
Was a consent agenda. I still remember that
I need
meeting.
to get it.
So Bob, come on up, we're not done yet, we have some other
Oh my gosh.
gifts of recognition. First of all, as Pam has mentioned, you will each receive this wonderful personalized walking stick,
Oh, wow.
as well as an Arizona State Parks bandana. That
Nice.
will be that. These are being revised in order to have the state agency medallion put on them. And so they'll be coming after the first of the year, so you'll each get one of these
Oh,
really cool ones with the bandana, so just so that you can see.
Thank
if
you.
want to
Wow.
be able to
Look
see
at
that.
How cute.
And then
All the parks
between
are-
Bob and myself, like to be able to give each of you an appreciation flag that the staff has been able to do. So first of all, Vice Chairman John, congratulations, really appreciate all of the great work that you continue to do for us. Ken, hope you're enjoying retirement. Absolutely, congratulations. And then finally to Chair Tiffany Broberg, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
It's really good to see you.
Thanks, still likewise.
There you go.
Thank you.
So Bob,
That's
if
so
you wanna-
nice.
and
I
then-
get the break.
yeah.
Oh. With the staff, of course.
That's right.
Hide those things. Okay, thank you.
All right, good.
Thank you
very
That's amazing.
Yeah. Or John Steele.
That's
This is.
So after the meeting, you guys need to come with me to pick out your own,
Oh, wow.
because there's so many different sticks.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, well, we still have one more, use a geological term, rock star to recognize. I know, you know, I listen to too many radio shows. But we have RJ Carden, recently retired Maricopa County Parks and Recreation Director, here today. RJ and I we have a history that goes back to the 80s, believe it or not. But I've asked Executive Director Bob Rashai to do the presentation and recognition for RJ Carden. So Bob?
Thank you, Chair. It's a pleasure. And RJ, you're always welcome here, back home. RJ just recently retired, and obviously coming to the board and to recognize him for not just his accomplishments outside, but also as a former employee of Arizona State Parks. And you can read up there. I asked him for his bio and for his resume, and just when you think you know somebody, RJ's experience goes not just Arizona, but all over the country. But he was the Parks and Recreation Deputy Director from 2001 to May of 2006. Then he became the director, which he just retired from 6 to 24. That's a record to be director that long. But he's worked in Sioux City, Iowa. He was Chief of Operations at Arizona State Parks for a very short time, February to June of '98. He was also Chief of Research and Marketing here as well from '94 to '98. He sat on the Arizona State Parks Board from March 2013 to 2017, and he was chair from March of 15 to August of 16. So he only had just a couple years, Mr. Chair. He's not working on 10 either, or 11 years. Adjunct faculty at Arizona State University, go Devils. Guest lecturer at Arizona State Department of Recreation Management. He's worked with the YMCA, both here as well as in Iowa. And he's also a non-commissioned officer, a rank of sergeant, United States Army Reserve from '86 to 1994. Thank you for your service there too. So that's his resume, but personally I've worked with RJ a long time, from going back to the Game and Fish days, when we were dealing with Ben Avery Shooting Range, when that was county run at the time. Maybe it was before that, but a whole host of issues, urban growth, planning. RJ's definitely a consummate professional in having to deal with the busiest county in the country as far as growth goes. But I got to work with him on wildlife issues, and then when I came into this job, just like Kent was, and John both, all three of you have been mentors to me in dealing with a lot of the issues and a lot of the history. We don't have had regular meetings, we coordinate, and RJ was always the one to lead that. And so I want to personally thank you for those phone calls, that advice, checking in, how's things going, giving me honest feedback, and then also the way he dealt with issues. RJ never got, either way too excited or way under excited about it, but he'd roll up his sleeves and he'd tackle it. And so RJ, thank you so much, not just for your years of experience, but you personally, you've made me a better director, a better parks person, and I just can't thank you enough and wish you the best. And I'm so jealous, both of you and Kent. I called RJ and I said, would it be okay for, could you make it to the board meeting? Because you don't know what these retired guys, they retire and they retire or they go to another job. And RJ was out hiking when I talked to him. And this is like 11 o'clock in the morning. And good for you. Good for you. I was completely jealous. But anyway, thank you, RJ. I really appreciate what you've done to us and what you've done for our agency and for recreation in the entire state. Thank you so much.
Board member comments, let me go to Vice Chair John Sefton.
Well, I think it goes without saying, RJ, you've made a major impact for me personally. To know that you're always there, right at the other end of the phone. And the past decade, or a little more than a decade, we had some pretty close relations with Peoria and the county and a beautiful little lake of water up there. And politics in between, all of that fun stuff. And it's been your wisdom and your touch and your network and just your genuineness really, as Bob said, you make others better just by being you. And for that, we love you and we appreciate you.
Thank you, John. Other board member comments?
Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your hikes.
Terry or Jeff?
Yeah, congratulations, RJ. Our paths have crossed a number of years, and congratulations. You'll enjoy retirement.
Thanks, Terry.
Jeff?
Thanks for all you've done for all of us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll just, clean up here. For all the reasons that have already been shared, and RJ and I go back. I remember when RJ was the grants guy here for the agency when I first was with Phoenix and sitting down with him, and then Iowa stole him for a little bit of time, and I thought, well, we'll never see him again. And then, well, lo and behold, comes back to Arizona and has this incredible career, and we share a lot of the same organizations that he has. But the angle that I would like to express my verbal appreciation is the term professional. I think in this very politicized era that we now live in, and you are subject to the Board of Supervisors or whatever the various elected officials are, that, as Bob is as well, you were just straight solid all the time. And that's why you were able to have such a successful career for all this time, because in spite of those personalities, in spite of those pressures, as John was mentioning too, you still have to survive. And you have to survive on behalf of your staff. And even though Maricopa County is a huge county, your staff is small. I mean, in terms of what you're able to do, and I'm sure, Kent, you feel the same way with Pinnell. I mean, you have a small army of people that are delivering services to the residents of this county day after day, all of the time. And you did it with professionalism, you did it with decor, you did it with sanity, you did it with all the kinds of things that a young college student like the two that we'll be hearing here shortly would want to aspire to be. So on behalf of the board, RJ, I'd like to present you with a plaque of appreciation on behalf of all the great work that you did. So Bob, you want to come on up too?
And he gets a.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes.
You get a hiking stick too.
Oh, okay, great.
There you go. And then we'll ask you to make some comments.
Okay.
So, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And the sanity part was 90% of the time. This is like full circle for me. I started actually working for Arizona State Parks in 1989. And that was through Arizona State University, actually, on a little program called the Off-Highway Vehicle Program. That was just getting started, and they needed some research to be done. So I was a graduate research assistant getting my master's at ASU, and that's how I got my foot in the door with Arizona State Parks. Was working on that program, then going, as you said, Dale, into the planning and the grants, starting the research and marketing division here at Arizona State Parks, and then going on for a short term, as you mentioned, Bob, as the chief of operations. And I had a great opportunity to go back to Iowa and be a parks director. So I did that, but as you mentioned, then I came back here at Arizona was home. Not to mention the third year we were in Iowa, they had 100 inches of snow that I had to shovel. I said, no, this is the place to be. So I just want to leave you with one thing. You mentioned kind of the professionalism, but with me, really, it was always about a desire to meet the needs of the public and to take care of our natural resources. And so that's why state parks and Maricopa County were just great fits for me. And I will always remember, and I'll leave with this, is when we started the research and marketing division, we did the first Arizona State Park visitor survey and got a lot of great data from that. But what I will always remember was a comment that we got from a lady who lived in Tucson, and her comment was, Arizona State Parks saved my life. Catalina State Park saved my life. And she went on to say that, she was diagnosed with heart disease, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and she said that she started the first time and couldn't hike more than a half a mile in Catalina State Park. And she said today her blood pressure was under control, her obesity was taken care of, and she was hiking 5 miles a day in Catalina State Park. So that is always something from the early 90s that I got that stayed with me about the importance of open space, trails, outdoor recreation. It was just an inspiration for me and something that goes back really to the beginning of my history here in Arizona. So thank you again for the recognition.
All right, well, what a meeting. This is great. So let's just go through these last, I'm sorry. Gosh, Sarah, my pleasure. I'm just getting caught up in the emotions here.
I know.
So number 6, Watts College at ASU students. Sarah is going to give a presentation about a project that she just out this semester, because just began this post of teaching at ASU. So please go ahead and introduce our 2 ASU guests.
Thank you. Thank you. So I moonlight as a faculty adjunct at ASU in the Watts College. Thank you to the example and coaching of our chair and vice chair. So thank you. And the course that I teach is part of the Next Generation Service course. So these are students that are self-selecting into a program where they are learning how to be public service leaders. And the class that they go through with me is the Community Impact Lab, where they're partnering with a community organization to do problem solving utilizing design thinking, which is actually something that we've been implementing and looking at in our own agency. So very small world, and this group did a great job, and no good deed goes unpunished. The content of their, they actually partnered with the City of Phoenix Parks and Trails division, which you all know well. You worked there, Dale, for a long time, focusing on the impact of truly climate change on the trail experience and looking at it from a safety perspective. I won't get into the details, I'll let them do that, but felt that this would be not just a great opportunity for them, I think, to bring this to the true policymakers, which now that they've heard all of your impressive resumes, I'm sure they're absolutely terrified. But also I think to maybe bring some fresh perspectives and new thinking from this generation of future leaders to our state in the capacity that this board serves. So with that, I'll turn it over to Davis and Chase. Thank you guys.
So we're Team Trails. We worked with Deputy Director Sarah Weber, as she mentioned. Thank you for that great introduction. So this is our group. I'm Davis Horn. I'm studying urban planning.
I'm Chase Ball. I'm a double major in urban planning and Spanish literature and culture.
This is the rest of our team, unfortunately, because it's final weeks. They're kind of missing in action. But they helped us throughout the entire semester.
I thought it was only right to make sure that they were also recognized as part of our presentation. So we just wanted to give a little bit of an outline on our community partner, as Professor Weber said, that our community partner is the City of Phoenix Parks and Recreation Department, which is important because they manage over 41,000 acres of land, including 200 miles of trails. And serving one of the fastest growing cities in the nation is vastly important that through our urban areas, we're mostly expanding, that there is open space for people to recreate in. And so as part of that, they also see some of the highest numbers of people coming into their parks. And therefore, during the summers, because of the population density, we see some of the largest issues with rescues and heat-related rescues specifically.
So our design challenge was to find an effective and affordable way to decrease the amount of heat rescues that were happening on these trails. We needed to focus specifically on the tourist population because they're disproportionately represented in these rescues. But mainly we needed to find an effective and affordable way to solve this issue.
So one of the biggest things is that we need to provide education so that before people get to parks, they have a proper idea on how to proceed, including how to not proceed sometimes, to know their limits and to not go hiking on these hot summer days where we have heat advisory warnings. And then communication between City of Phoenix and visitors. A lot of times, as Davis said, these are tourists, these are people that are unused to the Arizona heat. They may even be people from up north that, are traveling down to visit, a park in the Phoenix metro area while they're doing something else and they're not used to the extreme heat that we have. And so with that, there are over 250 rescues on the trails each year. Not all of those are heat related. Some of those could be somebody that sprained an ankle in January, so not heat related at all. However, a disproportional number are occurring during those summer months by folks that are not prepared to hike.
So this is the graph representing the annual hiking rescues at Camelback Mountain and Piestewa Peak. You can see obviously it's decreasing, and I would mainly say that that's due to the trail closures that have been implemented, specifically at Camelback and Piestewa. Our community partner, Josh Parnell, was talking about the effectiveness of this program. However, the program is unpopular with locals because they don't want to change their routine. So he was asked us to find alternative solutions to trail closures.
And then as part of our product, before we could move into providing solutions, we did a lot of background and research in order to structure our solutions and really understand a lot of where we were coming from here. So our direct contact with the City of Phoenix was Josh Parnell, who was able to give us a lot of institutional knowledge about how the City of Phoenix Parks and Recreation Department itself worked. So he was able to give us a lot of the data that we used and a lot of the direct statistics. However, he also made us aware that the committee process was what we were going to have to follow, that anything we did was going to be through a committee and have to be able to be summarily presented, as we are right now, to a group of people, as well as some of the current city policy concerning trail closures. We then did a secondary source evaluation, which included looking at both academic papers and then also a lot of news articles. So one of the things is that there was actually an academic paper written by the School of Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning at ASU, which is incredible because that's a school that Davis and I are both part of, that did an evaluation of hiking on a mountain with people of different athletic abilities, people of different, in different levels of shape, and then also looking at temperature. So this was very important to us because it told us that one of the most important things about dehydration and heat-related issues concerning recreation is that dehydration is not a one-day affair. It is not something that happens and then later that day, even if you aren't sick enough to be rescued, the next day you're magically better. Dehydration is something that lasts multiple days. It's important that it could be an externality with other things. Somebody that may suffer an issue the next day, their dehydration the previous day from hiking may play into that. As well as with our secondary source evaluation, understanding that some of the rescue efforts, we went out and did some interviews, as I'll get to the next part with that, but understanding some of the rescues that have occurred previously, especially some larger group rescues of groups that thought as a whole that they could go out and hike without the proper water, the proper footwear, things like that. As well as some heat relief resources in the region, such as the Maricopa Association of Governments Heat Relief Network that's coordinated with a lot of the local agencies. And then with that, finally, we did interviews. We both went out on the trailheads and met with people and asked them about their water habits, how much water they bring, what times of day they recreate, how they adapt to the summer heat. We got some incredible knowledge there, especially considering people that had experience trying to dissuade other people and had gone to other hot area parks or hot weather parks, especially between here and then kind of into the Mojave Valley into Southern California. There's some folks with experience there. As well as learning that you have to dissuade the confident hiker. It is not enough to give everybody enough water. It is telling the person that thinks that even if they are at their peak of physical fitness, that they are not going to be able to achieve Camelback in 115 degree heat. And it's very hard to get to that person and get into their mind and convince them otherwise. And then also we had a conversation with Chelsea McHale, and that was a very important conversation because she is the sister of her brother unfortunately died in a hiking heat-related accident around a decade ago. And so talking to her, because she has made it her life mission to go out and be a communicator for heat-related issues on trails. So talking with her about especially issues concerning social media, how do you utilize the modern age in social media to communicate with hikers was incredibly important.
So we came up with 3 main solutions to offer up to the Parks Board. Mainly adapting internet sites and maps to reflect heat advisory closures, bilingual signage, and airport signage.
So one of the biggest things about moving into the modern age with our parks and recreation and how our local governments interface with the private sector when it comes to the internet is establishing linkages between local governments and the companies that do this. For instance, one of the biggest, most popular sites, as y'all I'm sure are aware of, is AllTrails. However, AllTrails will not provide a big warning at the top of the page that says there's been a heat advisory warning issued. You know, you should not hike in 115 degree heat. It will just say, oh, it'll take 5 hours and it'll be 20 miles, which is most of the time a lie. I've tried one of those. It was way longer. But using things like APIs, application programming interfaces, and making simply creating ownership, because a lot of these can be counted as businesses. So for instance, the city of Phoenix could take ownership of Echo Canyon Trailhead and change the business hours as heat advisory warnings occur. As well as to kind of use social media to make it so that through the digital means that people are using to find trails, they also understand that they should not hike on those days.
When it comes to bilingual signage, given that 1 out of every 3 Phoenicians speak Spanish, the fact that there isn't Spanish on these signs is a little, they need to be better represented. So they're on a cycle of replacing these signs around every 5 to 7 years due to the sun bleaching. So our solution as a interim solution between placing actual Spanish on these signs was a QR code sticker that leads to a translated version of the Take a Hike, Do It Right program, as well as the heat warnings as well. There is an issue here when it comes to cellular data or the populations that may not have a phone or be able to scan this QR code, but the purpose of this is just to be a holdover until they can get these signs replaced.
An additional idea comes with airport signage. As we said, a lot of these visitors are coming from out of town. They're coming through Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport first. Some of them are coming, on road trips, and that might be a different issue that I can tap into a little bit in the conclusion. However, basically using the nature that the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport is a department of the City of Phoenix. It is an enterprise department. It does not have to pull from the general fund, so they have no obligation to listen to the City of Phoenix if the City of Phoenix would ask. However, they are because they are part of our local government. They are a public service institution. Even the private sector and even places that use private funds can be public service institutions. And so using directional smart signage, like I don't know if y'all have been to Terminal 4, but when you go down from the gates to the baggage claim, there's that big sign that usually has a GCU ad on it. That can be used to tell incoming passengers or on carousels, the TV screens. So putting directional signage there, even on the rental car center, the SkyTrain out to the rental car center, trying to get to people where they're at essentially, and using kind of some of those public service aims to create those coordination efforts. So in conclusion, preventative solutions are far cheaper than rescues. And new tech means new solutions. It means breaking into social media. It means using connections between local governments and private companies that are active in these IT spaces. However, with the State Parks Board, this also means kind of like scaling up these solutions. You know, because we worked with the city of Phoenix and this is the same presentation we gave to them, a lot of these ideas are really targeted at the hyperlocal level. They're targeted at what the city of Phoenix can do. But it doesn't mean that these can't be implemented elsewhere, such as with technology. A lot of what our state is focused on, what the region is focused on, is intelligent transportation solutions, the signs that tell you the funny messages, although the Federal Department of Transportation told us we can't use the funny messages anymore, apparently. But using signs like that to discourage people from hiking, and using, you know, up-to-date information to try to get out to people, that could be a way where coordination between departments at the state level could help discourage some of these hiking heat-related hits.
Thank you.
All right, Sarah, any comments from you before I turn it over to the board members?
Good job.
Yeah.
Great. Well done. We're excited to see where you go in public service.
And just to echo what Sarah mentioned earlier, this is the Next Generation Service Corps program, which I think there's over 1,000 ASU students in total right now in the pool about?
I think it's around 500 currently, but our
500?
alumni network is growing rapidly.
And these are students from all disciplines.
That's
Everything from education to law to geography to sciences to urban planning, public policy, all of the above. So it's a real nice mix of different people. So, you know, my comment is I see RJ 30 years ago doing what you're doing right now on this. So excellent job. But Jeff or John, do you want to mention? And then Jeff, Sarah, and Terry?
Sure, great job. As far as the data that you were able to gather on the incidence of heat-related, how deep did you get into that data?
Unfortunately, not very deep. Our community partner, we just had the communication wasn't great. And when it comes to the rescues, a lot of that data needs to be protected for HIPAA
Identity.
So we weren't able to get too deep into it.
Well, interesting, if you take this any further, I just harkened back to well over 30 years ago when we started keeping data on drowning incidents or water-related incidents. And we've come really with fire departments and aquatic professionals and a number of different folks through the Drowning Prevention Coalition to bring to light the incidents. And we had major marketing campaigns, if you remember, Watch Your Kids Around Water, Dave Muncie, all of those types of things. This is almost kind of in that same vein, right? And it doesn't mean that it has to be 115 out to be dehydrated either. So that just what we're knowing more and more about our physiology. Great job. I mean, it's just such an honor to also be connected to ASU and to see yet another example of how our professionals are connecting with the next generation. And thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have much to add other than kudos to you guys for thinking of practical solutions that could be implemented, especially the stopgap measures. It's really important to be taking action at the present time rather than waiting for new signage, that type of thing. So, congrats.
Terry or Jeff?
It's great work.
Terry also has been a faculty advisor at Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Like you said, thanks for your work and trying to make a real difference.
And just to put a kind of finale on this, as Sarah mentioned, this whole notion of design thinking is sort of a new way of approaching problem solving. I mean, it just has that relationship of the sense of place, in this case, our open public lands and spaces. Climate change is clearly affecting each and every one of us for all the reasons that we hear about every single day, water conservation, all of the above. So the fact that you in Sarah's class in one semester, which is basically 14 weeks at no cost to anybody but your time and your time, came up with this research study is remarkable. It just shows the ingenuity, the sophistication of two brilliant students tackling this in one 3-credit course. I assume it's a 3-credit course, right? And so Sarah is going to be able to take your good work, pass it on to the students that come after you in your class to be able to do similar kinds of things. So congratulations. Where are you both in your programs?
We're both juniors.
So you have one more year, and then what are your plans after you graduate, graduate school? Anything planning?
I think I'm going to get a master's in public policy.
Okay,
I'm leaning towards a Master's of Public Administration. However, I also am leaning towards a double program in urban planning as well. We'll see how I make the money work though.
well, again, thank you, Chase and Davis, very much, it was excellent, good job, well done, thank you.
And we cannot commend enough our group members that could not be here today. They did a lot of the work and a lot of the research as well. So
There were
just want to
8
thank
of
them.
you? How many, 8 of you?
There was 6 of us.
6 of you? Yeah, thank you. Sarah, be sure to let them know, and I'm sure you're doing, final grades are due by Monday, just to let you know.
They're already posted and I think they're doing all right. So no, thank you, good job. And this is very timely. I think City of Phoenix, I don't know if you all know this, their Parks Committee had a very contentious meeting recently on this exact topic. So it's really cool to be able to see our students diving into the real issues we're facing today.
And thank you for mentioning, this has a bigger platform than just City of Phoenix. This is with state parks, and the fact that you've anointed the 2 people here right now to be able to take this and see how it can apply to us as well. So thank you. All right, future agenda items. Board members may identify items or issues they wish to be considered for inclusion on a future agenda. Board members?
Mr. Chair, Terry Palmer.
Please, Terry.
I would like to address the issue of our state park board member appointments.
Very good. We will
We've
put,
lost some great committee members that would be great state parks board members.
January will be a good time to pick that up, since the state legislature will have reconvened at that time, so thank you, we got that noted. Anything else, Jeff, on your agenda? Okay, Bob, you're,
Nothing for me that we haven't already talked about.
okay, thank you, Jeff. Bob, Executive Director's Report on current events?
Thank you, Chair. I just have one. I mentioned it last meeting about our Emerging Leaders Leadership Development Program that we've been doing for the last 3 years for eligible and worthy staff, we call it. This is the graduation of cohort 3. So there's the motley crew up there in the middle of all the folks that went through. Everybody passed. And then we had the graduation at the Game and Fish Department's office last week. And so you'll see the bottom left, Carrie and me are in the middle, surrounded by groovy Pam. He's the professor at the University of Denver, and Mia is his PhD student, and they've been teaching the classes. I mentioned both of them. And Member Seth actually talked to Dr. Clemens as well about the potential for the program in Chandler. But this is it. We have all of our leaders show up, the supervisors all the way up to attend this graduation. And among other things that they do is what they've learned, but what are they going to take back? And Gary calls it cascading, to to your work unit or whatever, wherever you work. And it's really heartening for all of us that just like you 2 gentlemen, they're the future, and we're trying to get them to not sugarcoat what the future is, but prepare them for dealing with contentious issues, mostly themselves, and getting themselves. Yourself is usually in the way of you becoming great. And this gets you out of that. But anyway, I thought this would be a great picture. We're really proud of all of the graduates. Had huge success of promotional opportunities within our agency, except for this doesn't guarantee that. It prepares them for a very competitive process. And we've just had a lot of success, and several of them are sitting in this room right now. But anyway, I thought this would be great to show you the faces to the name, or the faces to the discussion that we had last month. We're going to be launching number 4, so we'll be showing you more pictures here, hopefully pretty soon, once we go through that process. And Professor Weber is going to be leading that and scrutinizing every one of them. So.
So what's the total count now through
about
cohort?
76.
Out of how many total staff now?
251.
There you go.
Good numbers.
Great.
It's great.
It's a culture of leaders.
It is.
Anything else, Bob?
That's it. Thank
Okay,
you.
very good. Current events, board members may present a summary of current events and or recent experiences of interest. Hearing none, very good. Call to the public, I'll address anyone that would wish to address the board for items that they would like to bring up. I didn't get any cards from Pam earlier on, so I think we can pass through that. Future meeting dates, just for recognition, Pam did a great job in showing for the full year of the 2025 meeting schedule, believe it or not. And I know we do, Mickey has mentioned, we would like to be able to visit Southeast Arizona on the road for a meeting. So that's right after the first of the year or February, whenever we do, probably in the Sierra Vista area, I think, to be able to recognize that. So that's part of this, just to be able to recognize that. And I agree with Board Member Palmberg in terms of trying to replenish our board with 2 vacancies that we would like to get back on the board. And before I adjourn the meeting, and again, thank you to our recognized leaders that were here today, all of you, for all the great work you did. End of the year, it's been a fantastic year, and Mickey, your report just really encapsulates the idea of how busy this agency is doing with a streamlined effort of seamlessness, of stewardship, of all the above. And as a board member, and I'm sure I can speak for the other board members, it's an honor. It really is an honor to just be a part and be somewhat of a messaging agency of thought and respect of what you're doing. I think Tiffany put it absolutely right. Arizona is known for its natural public land assets. That's why people come here. That's why we're in danger right now because of climate change. But having leadership like this throughout the state organization is just an honor, and I'm very proud to be able to serve with that. And I just wish everybody a happy holiday through this season. Be healthy, be happy, be joyful, and we'll see everybody back to work in January. So thank you. With that, meeting adjourned.